The 1420 Sports Podcast, show 189, March the 28th, 2022. Dave, another month has gone by. Later on, we'll have the Meathead of the Month award. There's some crazy stuff going on this week, and a guy might have taken the award last night single-handedly. We'll get our views on that. It was beaten to death last night and throughout the day on all kinds of media, whether it be sports media, because they were talking about it, social media, everything else. We'll get into the Will Smith thing later on. But you were down in Montana this weekend. How were things down at Whitefish, and what did you get up to?
Yeah, I had a wonderful opportunity to get down to the US of A last this weekend. Pretty mellow. It was we thought about skiing, but it was actually too warm. I hate spring skiing. I don't like the soft snow and getting wet and with my kid, and so we did ski. And so what we did, we just hung out in Kalispell for the morning. Went for a walk. There's a brewery right close by. Went there for the afternoon, had a snack and a beer, and went out for supper. Called her a weekend, and back here, it's 48 hours away from home is a good 48 hours.
No, getting away is always a good thing. Even like some just simple little day trips sometimes can really just clean the soul and clear your brain a little bit and help out a lot. Throughout the weekend, Dave, it was fun. It started on Thursday night when we were on the air with Brad there. The NCAA March Madness was on. You had your St. Peter's Peacocks. They won a game on Friday night. Went into yesterday. They got just absolutely destroyed by North Carolina. North Carolina scored often and early. St. Peter's couldn't. Now you got the big boys are there. That's where the big boys end up 9 times out of 10 in the NCAA men's bracket. You got Duke and North Carolina, and you got Villanova, Kansas. Cinderella never wins this thing, but it's always fun to watch a team go there. There was a little bit of buzz, but we were at I think Mojo's on Friday night watching the game, and Lethbridge, Alberta isn't really the biggest NCAA hub for watching for watching men's basketball. There are some people who are interested, but when you have a 15 seater on TV, people seem to be cheering for him. And it seemed to be the thing, or the talk around the water cooler, I guess you could say, was for St. Peter's to pull it off on Friday, which they did. And it was fun to see people being interested and engaged in something like that.
Everybody loves an underdog. And same with the Super Bowl, the way Joe Burrow led the Bengals into the Super Bowl. It attracts eyeballs, and especially, I guess it's hard to find when there's an underdog. There's no villain status to them all. There's never a bad guy underdog. They're the plucky underdog because no one knows about him. You don't know, you don't know anything about him, and then so it's more fun to cheer because especially when you go up against storied franchises like beating Kentucky, and then to get to the Final Four to face North Carolina, which. Excuse me. They went in North Carolina went in as I believe an 8 or a 9 seed.
8.
But but it's one of those things like where the team is crazy talented, but they just had problem gelling. They didn't have a good regular season. They did beat Duke in Krzyzewski's last regular season game as a coach
for the ACC championship. Yeah,
right. So that the talent's there. It's just a matter of putting it all together. And UNC is a bit of a force, and so I do applaud St. Pete. I did see we talked about it, about the money that must be spent on that program. And I actually saw pictures of their gym, and I read some stories of what their facilities are like. There's high schools in the States that have better facilities.
There's high schools in Southern Alberta with better facilities than that, let alone the States. The thing, Dave, is with UNC, like no one's surprised that they're there. They were an 8 seed, but a team like University of North Carolina, they get there every few years, and it's going to be really interesting on Saturday night. Krzyzewski, the Duke Blue Devils versus North Carolina, which could be Krzyzewski's last game again, and that's as big as rivalry there is in sport. North Carolina and Duke, they're 8 miles apart in North Carolina. There, geez, man, that's as big as it gets for a Final Four game the TV people must be over the moon with advertising dollars that they're going to make on the North Carolina Duke game, because there will be a lot of eyeballs tuned into that one.
Oh, for sure. Like both teams have a massive fan base. And I found this odd. Duke played Michigan State in their second game. And I believe that was the 16th time Duke and Michigan State faced each other in the tournament. In the Final Four, when Duke plays North Carolina, it's the first time they will face
Ever.
each other.
Yeah.
That was kind of just a bit of a mind fuck to me. Like, how can this be that two storied franchises have never faced each other in the tournament?
And they've been around for so long. Yes, they play in the same conference,
Forever, yes.
and they play and they're always in the tournament. They always go deep. How they've never played each other. Dave, the thing about this one, let's say that whoever wins that game on Saturday night and then goes on, let's say either team, Duke or North Carolina, goes on to lose on Monday in the championship game. Is this game bragging rights for that school no matter what? Because for that reason, they've never met in a big game, in this big of a situation before. Whoever wins this game, do they have bragging rights forever, no matter what?
No. When you have storied franchises in 4 years, it's going to be an entire new crop of kids, and there's no such thing. It's all about the banners hanging from the roof, whether it be ACC championships, Final Four appearances, and championships. You know,
So if Duke wins, which I'm hoping they do. So if Duke wins this one, is this, especially being Krzyzewski's last games, if they win this one, can they forever say, we got you forever? Like, it's like Yankees Red Sox for how long until the Red Sox finally beat them in 2004?
No. This is just another year, and in 4 or 5 years, this will. I'll tell you this: if North Carolina wins, I believe it's going to hurt Duke more than North Carolina losing to Duke.
Because of the Krzyzewski situation.
Because of the Krzyzewski situation, yeah. This being
it's been kind of like he's an older guy. He doesn't look a bunch different than he did when I first started watching Duke basketball in 1980, whatever year it was.
He doesn't age much.
He hasn't aged a whole bunch. You see, there's a little bit more lines like you and I have. There's some, like when you get the close-ups, thank God we don't get those the high def views of our faces, because they do bring out the wrinkles. But he seems to be enjoying it. He seems to be enjoying the ride a little bit. Yeah, he's getting revved up when it's time to get revved up. But in general, like, he's walking with his wife onto the court before the game and after the game. There seems to be an enjoyment and a sense of calm, which you would assume that however old the guy is. It's kind of nice to see a guy going on his own terms like this.
I agree. Like, and with a good team, and yeah, it's just it's time to step back and then. Who knows? God knows how much money he has in the bank. Like, he has generational wealth. Like, his kids are fine because he's been making so much money. Never mind the shoe contracts he's been signing. He was
with Nike,
yeah. And that's a thing which I believe is a flaw in the NCAA thing. The coach signs the shoe contract for the team, and that's a lot of money. And so now for him to walk away, because, like, you know, he has nothing to prove. I guess he's decided that, you know, I got nothing to prove, and I don't want to do this until I'm dead. Imagining he's a grandfather a couple times over. So, like, what is it? What's there left to do? And is this what I want to do for the rest?
Yeah, because I believe this is, from what I thought I heard today, 13th or 14th Final Four. They've won 5. Like, what more can you possibly do? One thing, Dave, that came out that was good, like, not only just St. Peter's making that big run, a 15 seed. I can't remember the name of the kid. Doesn't much matter. It'll go away till the next time there's a new face on the block. But one of the kids from St. Peter's actually got a name, image, likeness deal out of the situation. Could be that kid with the mustache. He was the poster boy on Twitter for the St. Peter's Peacocks. It's nice to see that sometimes, you know, it's not just the big schools and these kids who are bona fide studs per se that get these deals. And there are some kids that are making a little bit of dough on the side for accomplishments that they had on the field that they probably aren't going to have, tomorrow. Like
Well,
there's a good
yeah,
chance. There's a good chance that not one of those kids from St. Peter's plays basketball again tomorrow.
not professionally. Yeah, exactly. And like, who knows what the alumni is? Who knows what kind of influence that university has throughout the corporate world or whatever world the that school may excel in pushing graduates towards. But it was, yeah, I saw it as well. It was for Buffalo Wild Wings, and good for him. Like a couple $100,000. Like, why not?
Why
Why
not
not?
take it?
Because he's part of the machine, and like you mentioned, like being an underdog team, getting a team all the way to the Elite Eight. There's definitely eyeballs on the screen because of that team.
Yeah, and the thing is that a lot of these kids, like that, when they don't get full ride scholarships. A lot don't. They get partials and this and that. So there's a good chance that kid might have a bit of a student loan to pay, and having $200,000 in his jeans when he leaves helps pay for that. And then leaving school with $200,000 in your pockets, it's when you get your first job, you probably aren't making $100,000 a year. So it's not life-changing money, but it can help a lot. Like it can help a ton.
It is life-changing money, because I'll say this.
Well, yeah, okay. It's not life-altering, it's life-changing. Big difference, I guess. Right?
Because like walking out of school at 22 years old with a degree and debt-free is a lot different than walking out of school with a degree and 80 grand in student loans.
And
like,
trying to start.
Yeah. And then now what?
Yeah.
And then so now, like, your first paycheck, like, just think about it. Like, paying off a loan sucks. Like, but like, when we bought our house, like, obviously you got to pay for it and you make your payments every time. But now this is behind you. You're not paying for something that is building equity. You're paying for something that is behind you in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And that debt, the interest is accruing. And how do you get to that next step, which is buying the house, buying the car, getting credit? Now you're renting, trying to make ends meet. It's a massive problem, particularly in the United States. I've read all the articles about paying off student debt, but like, if you can walk out with a post-secondary degree and debt free, that is a massive step forward for the rest of your life financially.
It must have been basketball weekend here at number 2494 Yankee Tavern here in Lethbridge, Dave, because last night or throughout the weekend, I saw the commercials for the Lakers documentary, Winning Time. That was about the Lakers dynasty, or the Jerry West years, how they got it going when Magic Johnson got drafted, the whole bit with him coming out of Michigan State. Dave, it's that documentary. I think it's on HBO or Crave, or Deanne hits a button, it comes on. I don't know how to do it because I don't pay attention. I'm sure I would figure it out, but that documentary is very well done. It's right in my wheelhouse. That's when I first started watching sports. We first got cable TV back in Fort McLeod, back in the homeland in '82 with the Lakers Celtics rivalry that went on. Dave, have you been tuning into that Winning Time documentary? And what's your thoughts on it? I think there are 4 shows in so far. I watched 3 last night. Fell asleep during the 4th one. I had a big feed last night. Mom came over for supper and the whole bit, so I was a little tuckered out and had a few beers throughout the day. So the eyes got a little bit heavier on 10 o'clock last night. But that Winning Time documentary, to me so far, it's a little bit campy, but I find it very entertaining.
It's extremely entertaining, and I am going to take umbrage with your use of the word documentary. It's clearly loosely based on fact.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I just said documentary because it's just
But like, but I find it highly entertaining because obviously the characters are, I don't know what you want to say about it, like blown up, like even that Jack Kent Cook, who Jerry Buss bought it from. Like, I don't know if you could be that big an asshole, but
I think they can, Dave. When they got money like that, I think they can be.
Like, yeah, but the conversations, and obviously they like nothing is, and what's his name? JC Riley, Riley's the one that's playing Dr. Jerry Buss.
Yeah.
And I've always had a soft spot of that guy ever since.
He's a good actor. Yeah.
Yeah, ever since Boogie Nights.
Okay, so I was right because Deanna
John C. Riley.
John
Yeah.
C. Reilly. He is very good. He plays Dr. Jerry Buss.
Yeah.
He's very good. Bit of a playboy. Never has his shirt buttoned up. He's very good.
He combs his chest hair before going out.
The whole bit.
Yeah.
He does a very good job, and he's it's panned out that he spent every penny he had and money he didn't have to acquire the Lakers. It's very well done, and it goes right like I'm not going to spoil it for our listeners, but it goes right. And it's not a surprise that Magic was a bit of a playboy and everything else, and very promiscuous. But man, it goes back to his days at Michigan State. That Magic was no altar boy compared to what his mom wanted him to be.
Magic likes what he sees in the mirror. And obviously that has never changed, and they portrayed that him as a kid leaving university, and then when the Lakers did draft him, they even touch on that. Like Magic didn't have to declare for the draft; he could have gone back for his last year at Michigan State, which he chose to come out. And Dr. Jerry Buss convinced him, said, "We'll take, yeah, but you got to declare," and that's what happened. And which is. That's not a spoiler alert. Like, look at the fucking almanac. Like, that's what happened. Like, he came out, and I haven't gotten to like the actual Bird Magic rivalry in the NBA yet, but that's coming. I know it's a 10-part series. I'm into the first 3. I think only 4 have been out. You can't binge watch it.
Well, you could if you waited 10 weeks, but yeah,
but at this point. I did not watch last night's episode. Depending on how it goes tonight, I might watch it tonight. But it's what I like about it is it's a period piece, and it is shot as such, like with a bit of grainy footage. I like the way that the actors break the fourth wall and turn to the camera. And
I've always liked that when TV shows or like Ferris Bueller, he did that Ferris Bueller's Day Off, when he would turn to the camera and say something. I've always found that funny. I've always liked that in anything I've ever watched. I think it's. I wish there was some more movies that did that.
Yeah, and it works. You have to handle that with a deft hand as a director and as a movie maker. But when it works, and I think it's working in this
entertainment
series.
piece.
Yeah, in this entertainment piece. I don't know what to call it.
It's a mockumentary. Mockumentaries is the proper word I think they call them.
It's not even a mockumentary because it's not Spinal Tap either. It's based on true life events.
Yeah. Well, they even say prior to it, enhance for entertainment value.
Yeah.
They actually say
which is
there's a screen thing. Dave, back to sports a little bit, and you brought it up about the draft and everything else. And I think we touched on it a year ago. But why doesn't basketball and football, why do these players have to declare for the draft? Why can't they just get drafted and stay in school? Like hockey does it. Like hockey, you can get drafted first overall and go back to junior. Baseball, you can get drafted in the first round and stay in school. Like or if you have a contract dispute, you can. Why is it that basketball and football do that? Like I've always wondered that, and maybe you can elaborate because I actually don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I don't know the rules to that either. Maybe it's just because of insurance reasons. Like I don't know. Like until you sign a contract, as far as I know, hockey players can get drafted, but they don't have to sign with their team for, I believe, 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. And it is the same with baseball as well.
They can get a contract, like a hockey guy can get a contract, get a signing bonus, and still get sent back to junior.
Yeah, but you can't. But you can't sign that contract and go play college in the States.
You can't play college, but you can go back to junior.
That's right.
So it's just odd.
Yeah.
But you can get drafted and be in college in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is it that the NCAA has different rules? Well, the NCAA is a whole another mess. We've talked about that ad nauseum in the past. That you can get drafted. Like, why can't they just be drafted and stay in school? Like,
I don't think it has anything to do with the NCAA because, they like hockey and baseball. the players are drafted and playing for their schools all the time.
Yeah, it's why does basketball? It must be an NBA and NFL players agreement with the like their players association to say this, because if a kid, well, we know lots of not we don't know, but they got rid of that. You had to go to college to get drafted for the NBA, but there was guys getting drafted out of high school that had to declare for the draft, which made them ineligible to go to college. Like
Right.
why can't you just get drafted, go to school, improve your game, and get a bigger contract?
Yeah, like it's obviously something in the CBA, and I don't
Yeah,
understand what it might be, because yeah, I really don't know, because I guess maybe in the NFL and the NBA you're more pro ready than in those others, than in baseball and hockey, because all four sports draw a significant the talent pool from the NCAA is well represented in both
yeah.
baseball and hockey. But for basketball and football, it's the majority. Whereas the college pool for hockey and for the NHL and for MLB is probably a little bit less. I would say probably around 10%.
Yeah, there's not many. Yeah.
Or yeah, where it's in like high 90s for NHL and NBA. Sorry,
Yes.
NFL and NBA.
Yeah, it's just something that's just food for thought. Maybe one day we'll do a little research, which we never ever do. We just kind of just shoot from the hip
Oh,
in between
that
20
one's too deep.
podcasts. But
I ain't gonna read that.
if
Fucking.
anybody
I'm gonna.
has that, if anybody who listens has that answer for us, why that's rule compared to the other sports, please let us know. Because I've wondered that since, man, when I played hockey. Like this is, and that's 30 years ago. Geez, I'm getting old. Keep thinking.
See,
I keep thinking, Dave. I keep thinking that 1990 was 20 years ago. It's really not. Like it's
oh
really not. It's not, and I keep getting caught in that. Like, plus, oh no, it's 30 years ago now.
yeah. That well, my birth year, I was born closer to World War II than I am than right now.
Like I graduated high school 30 years ago in June, and it's hard to. It's a thing. I know how math works, but it's like it blows your mind. Like you listen to 80s music, you're like, oh no, that's 40 years ago, man.
When I was born, Vietnam War was happening.
It's happening. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So
it's crazy. Anyways, 1420 Sports Podcast, 4 Mirror Sports, talking a whole lot more. We're on Spotify, Google, Apple, Amazon, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, we're there for you.
things that were never even a thought when we
We
were
thought
born.
of us when we were born.
No, internet. Fuck, we had rotary phones.
Rotary phones.
And then like, hey, rotary phone, tell Siri to ask Alexa to play Sports 20 podcast, please.
Yeah, rotary phone ain't gonna do that, Dave.
On Spotify.
The 1420 Sports Podcast, 4 Mirror Sports, talking a whole lot more. Dave, Saturday night, she was a Battle of Alberta, 8 o'clock. We were out and about watching the game. Geez, I turned my head. It was 5-0 or 5-2, and then all of a sudden it was 6-5 after 2 periods with the Flames in front. 9-5 final score. The Oilers goaltending problem still exists, and actually I don't think it's a goaltending problem. 5-on-5, they were. You had Draisaitl had 5 points, was a -4. Not good. It's not good. Oilers land with no hope in sight. We beat that thing to death. But 9-5 hockey game this stage of the season. Dave, both teams obviously have to be concerned. The Flames were a little bit happier because they won the game, but I can't imagine Daryl Sutter was rainbows, unicorns in the dressing room after the game was done.
Well, no, you never can be when you give up 5 goals. But on the like you mentioned, on the flip side, when you score 9, there's not a lot of games you're gonna lose. And I would way rather take my chances with the Flames, with Markstrom, who had a bad game. Everyone can lay an egg, right? Like Nolan Ryan didn't pitch a no hitter every game. Like you're gonna have a turd every now and then. And I think Markstrom is better than any option the Oilers can possibly craft Out
A half Markstrom was better than any option the Oilers possibly have.
That tandem of Smith and Koskinen is laughable.
Yeah.
Laughable.
Like I watched like the game we were watching the basketball game there, and then they turned my head, and then like, oh geez, there's another goal and another goal, and they weren't good goals, and it's like, oh, like how does this happen? And we talked about this Oilers situation a lot with this no goaltending, no defense. Now they're screwed for years to come, and the people sitting next to us, they were just saying like, and it's right across Alberta, right across the sports world. Like you listen to a Toronto radio station or a podcast from wherever, every team knows what the Oilers' problem is. Every person knows what the Oilers' problem is. But the Oilers, like, why didn't Ken Holland, Hockey Hall of Famer, why do you think he didn't do something to try to improve that?
Something. Like I like we've talked about it forever.
Even a trade, a level deal. There's just a new blood, something the same exact same thing. Because back in 2004, was it 04? They went to the finals against Carolina. Was it 04? 06?
Yeah. It was 6. It was a year after the strike.
So it was 6.
Yeah.
They went and got Dwayne Rollison a deal across the board. And they didn't improve the goaltending situation. They changed it. That's all they did was change it.
Yep.
So why didn't they just try that?
I have no idea. And like, and this is one of the reasons why I have no problem staying comfortably divorced with them. Like, how the fuck, like, honestly, does one person on the fucking planet think they have a chance in the playoffs?
Nobody.
You cannot you cannot win Stanley Cups with goaltending like that. It is fucking impossible. It is impossible. Ask Dan Cloutier how he did with the Vancouver Canucks. Well, right?
Yeah, they had some great teams, and Cloutier was he was a good goalie, but not good enough, right?
No, just simply not good enough.
Not good enough. Dave, I can't remember what night it was. There was a game on. The Oilers were on TV. They're on Alberta all the time. Obviously, they show every game on Rogers. But they showed before the game Mark Messier tapping Paul Coffey on the shoulder, and 2 old teammates from back in the 80s, back in some of the greatest hockey teams ever created. They played together in a lot of Team Canadas. They hugged and embraced like it was the old days. Dave, and I'm getting a segment or same segment, but something along these same lines. But do you think, looking back, I mean, these guys don't have any, they're rich beyond belief. They love their jobs. They love their lives. They've done very well for themselves. But do you ever think that, like, you go back to the Gretzky trade, which first started to break it all up back in 1980, 89. Do you think that those boys ever sit around and go, man, what if we just would have stayed together? What if we just would have taken a little bit of a bath or a little bit of a cut in our pay, or put our ego, because they were young and great. And back then, man, everyone was telling those guys how good they were. You go from Messier to Anderson to Coffey to Fuhr and to Gretzky and the rest of them. Do you think those boys ever sit around at the cottage and go, man, maybe, like, looking back, why don't we just put our egos behind us a little bit and go out and win 6, 7, 8, 9 cups?
No, I don't think they do. I don't think they do at all, because they were trailblazers. It was a different time, especially as far as salary goes. I don't know, like when they were working, I'll say that, when they were working for the Oilers, I don't know if anyone besides Gretzky was making more than $1 million a year. It was the pay was that small back.
300 grand, 400 grand, maybe.
And Paul Coffey's issue was never with his teammates; it was with his pay, and the Oilers couldn't afford it. And at the end of the day, fuck, beautiful skater, right? Like, and fast and offensive minded, could do his thing. But so at the end of the day, I believe Messier has 6 cups, Gretzky has 4,
4.
The Oilers won 5.
So he has 4. Yeah, he has 4.
Yeah, and 1 without Gretzky.
Yeah.
Mess got all 5 with the Oilers,
and 1 with the Rangers.
6. Yeah, with Paul Coffey. He knows a thing or two about winning. And then Coffey got two with Pittsburgh, right?
I
Or
believe
just
so,
one?
yeah. And Anderson won a couple here and there and everywhere, and he was successful where he went. And
Yeah.
Grant Fuhr was just. But yeah, I was just wondering that man, like I mean, they're legendary for no matter what they did because the way they
Yeah.
changed the game and the way Glenn
One
Sader
of the
put that
best
team
teams ever
together,
assembled.
best
Yeah.
teams ever assembled, and you got to give Sader a bit of a pat in the back. But man, that would have been an easy team to coach, wouldn't it have?
Yeah. Just throw the ball out there, right?
Go
Well, throw the puck. Yeah.
open the
Figure it
gate.
out.
See you later. Yeah.
Yeah. It was amazing. And I don't think they have regrets with their professional life. Because they did have so much success and they all had success. Ironically, it was Gretzky that didn't get a cup somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Coffee got his cup someplace else. Mess got another cup someplace
Anderson
else.
won another one with the Rangers, like on and on and on.
And Graves and
yeah, like all those guys, like you just wonder if they like. You wonder how many cups, like if they could go back to the time machine, the 1420 time machine, or Hot Tub Time Machine. That was a good movie. I like Hot Tub
it
Time
was
Machine.
entertaining.
It wasn't good. It's entertaining. I should watch how I
Yes.
word that. It's not a good.
Yeah.
It's not going to win any fucking Oscars, which whatever.
But
We'll
I'll
talk about that a
watch
little
it
bit later
if I
on.
stumble
Oh,
across
if
it.
it's
Yeah.
on, I'll watch the Hot Tub
Yeah.
Time Machine. But you wonder how many they would have won. Like they stumbled in '86 with the Steve Smith own goal off of Grant Fuhr's leg against Calgary. In '89 with Gretzky's first year gone away from the Oilers. Then they come back and won one in 1990, and then the band was disbanded. You wonder how many if they would have all stuck. You wonder how many they might have won. Like you just want it's.
Well, they won 5 and 7, and so they really could have won 7 in a row.
Because really,
right?
it was like Esatikanen was on the that Rangers team too.
Yeah,
you know, like that
Adam
Rangers
Graves.
team.
Yeah,
That Rangers team was '94. I mean, that was an Oilers team.
that was an Oilers team with Mike Richter in net.
Craig McTavish and everything else. You wonder
Yep.
how many they could have won. It's interesting. It was interesting today, Dave. Albert Pujols went back to the St. Louis Cardinals, and this is why I kind of brought up the Oilers thing. The Cardinals they're always a threat. They always have a good team. They're right there every year. Pujols can't. He's not going to have a major role. He went back to Cardinals today. Going to finish it off. He said. Same with Molina. He's out this year, and Wainwright. They're going to all finish their careers off. Is this a cool move, nozzle move, or just what? It's a nice story to all these guys' careers.
I think it's a nice thing. I wonder what. I wonder. Well, shit. Maybe like so that now it's a retirement tour because Pujols, it was decided by people that were paying his salary that he is no longer a functional piece of an active roster, right? He's a bit player that will bring in for the occasional thing. And you know what? I don't feel bad. I don't have any ill will towards Pujols. He was
like if he gets 150 at bats, whatever. Universal DH now, who cares? Whatever.
And back in his day, he was awesome. Oh, he was a feared hitter. And there's a reason Anaheim signed him for so much money. And St. Louis wasn't prepared to match it. I get it. That was a smart business decision by St. Louis. And, I guess, as I'm talking it through right now, I kind of respect both Pujols and the Cardinals for coming together and just say like, hey, let's have a hug. Let's hug it out. Here's $1 million. Here's $1 million, and we'll put you in when we can.
You'll sell some T-shirts. I'll sign some autographs. We'll call
cool
it good.
With that, right?
We'll have a retirement tour, like a la Jeter, a la Mariano had back in 2013, 2014. And these guys can ride off in the sunset with World Series in their pockets and a lot of money in their jeans for sure. No, I think it's a nice gesture. But you wonder if we were a fan base of the St. Louis Cardinals, you wonder if you would have the same thought process going, okay, we got 3 guys who aren't going to improve not hurt our team, but instead of having this guy, that guy, like why are we mailing it in already? Like why are we mailing this season in? Like this Pujols guy hit whatever last season. Molina's still. And Wainwright's going to give like you just wonder on a baseball perspective if you're a Cardinals fan if you'd have the same kumbaya moment that we're having right now.
That's an interesting point because, the Cardinals are that franchise where
Always
it's
right
not,
there.
oh, they're always right there. They obviously do something right because they seem to be, they seem to win or be in a World Series every 7 to 8 years, which is a
Yeah.
really good batting average, right? Like
In the
that's
playoffs every year
right.
or
They're a
closer.
threat.
Yeah.
And they're never terrible. They're never terrible. And there is the Cardinal way. You hear that. I don't
Mhm.
know exactly what it is, but they preach it, and they're there. And the Cardinals were there last year, right?
Yeah.
They were 1 inning away from beating the Dodgers again, right? Last
Like
year.
it,
It's they're always there. And then so maybe this is the old guard ushering in the new. And if they stink and if they're there, I boys, we get it, but we need this guy. And they're gonna say, okay. But like Molina is still like catching 70% of the games,
he's a
isn't he?
good player.
He's so good. I love that guy. I'm not crazy about the neck tattoos, but
I, I,
that's my problem, not his.
yeah, it's a me thing too, Dave. I don't understand at what point you figure you need to, and it's a me thing. It might be get off my front lawn kind of deal, old man on the porch. I'm not crazy about neck tattoos. You get one right on. But if you can hit 300 and throw out 30 guys, whatever.
Oh
But
Jesus, it's a joy to
but
watch him play
but
back when they were
I
winning
don't know. Like
those
got neck
series.
tattoos. You have to sit at Uncle Brent's lap, and we'll talk a little bit about this because it's a little bit odd to me. Like it's
I don't get it, but the fucking how he called a game, how good he was behind the
yeah.
plate, hit that fucking rocket. I wonder how to have an arm that good, he must have got a look as a pitcher because the
Well,
way
his
he can,
brothers, like there was at one point there was three Molinas catching, and they were all awesome.
yeah, they're just so good.
Like when they're
Yeah,
little league, and I think they're from Dominican. I would assume, I don't know for sure, but like
they
when
must be related to the Santiagos.
yes, there you go. Oh, remember Benito Santiago? How good he was
Oh,
throwing from his,
you bet.
because he was
Yeah,
the
same,
first guy
same.
that would throw from his knees or from his crouch to second base. Man, he was unbelievable because it was so different. It was
Yes,
just so different. Like wow,
I can hit.
it could hit. If you can get a
Yeah.
catcher who can hit and can throw guys out, well, that's what catchers. But if you can get one that can hit a little bit, man, that helps your team a lot because a defensive catcher is that's what their first job is. But one that can hit, man, that's the start of a playoff team and a World Series contender.
You bet. Yeah, an offensive contributing catcher is a linchpin. Like that's I won't say every World Series team, but a lot of World Series team. And I'm even going back to the '86 Mets with Gary Carter, right? And you keep going through Mike Piazza, who was an offensive catcher, never won the World Series. You have just really good catchers. I'm gonna bring Russell Martin was a good one. Remember
Martin
that
was so good.
Martin was so good.
And he was on a lot of playoff teams for a lot of years. He was a Yankee for a little bit there, but then he was the Jays team in 2015, along with my new favorite Yankee, Josh Donaldson. But anyways, we'll get to another thing there.
Jason Kendall, remember him with the
Yeah,
Pirates?
with the Pirates, good
Same
catcher.
thing. Like if you have
A catcher, Jorge Posada with the Yankees was great.
was a good
Could
catcher.
hit, could catch, a little bit of grit to him the whole bit. Yeah, just a catcher's the. I mean, it's the whole. I think he's the. I don't want to say the most important, but man, oh man, a good catcher can make a good catcher can make a bad pitcher really good.
Yes, and a catcher that can contribute offensively is a game changer because it's such a vital piece of the defense that and that's why Gary Sanchez got shit on as a Yankee forever because
Can't catch or hit
he was a terrible catcher that hit for power occasionally.
occasionally.
Okay.
Very occasionally. He had a good 2015 or 16 September.
He had
and
a
they've
good
been
free
holding on to
agent
that
year,
ever since.
Yeah.
Since. Anyways, no, it's baseball season, Dave. We're 10 days away now. It's coming up. We'll do another Major League Baseball preview show. People are still listening to that show from a year ago. So we'll do the exact same thing probably a week from now and give our picks and who's going to win who we're going to pick to win the World Series. And a lot of the prognosticators, Dave, you may not want to hear this, but you're going to have a lot of baseball fans that aren't baseball fans right now. There'll be baseball fans in October because the Toronto Blue Jays, they're picked by a lot of the smart guys to win a World Series.
They got a chance. There ain't no doubt they have a chance. We'll see what happens, and we'll talk about it again, obviously. But Jesus Christ, like they got a chance. And no other sport. Well, I guess every sport, injuries can wreak havoc on a season. But if the Jays can stay healthy, I'm really curious to see what this team can accomplish.
Opening day is right around the corner. If you're going to go to the game where you already have tickets to opening day and you want to improve your seats, make sure you go to SeatGeek or the SeatGeek.com or the SeatGeek app. Save yourself $20 and get yourself some tickets. Use promo code 1420POD. That's 1420POD, and save yourself $20 on your first purchase at SeatGeek.com.
Free parking.
1420 Sports Podcast, 4 Beer Sports Talk, and a whole bunch more. Dave, yesterday was a monumental day. Something hadn't been seen, and let me do the math here. 36 years. We talked about earlier on how the 86 wasn't 26 years ago. It was 36 years ago. But that was the last time that the Canadian men's soccer team made it to a qualifier for the World Cup. It happened yesterday. It was inevitable. They're not inevitable. It's not inevitable in the world of sports. But it happened. They beat Jamaica 4-0. Canada scored early a couple times. There was an own goal, I think, to end the game in the later minutes. 4-0 victory over Jamaica yesterday. Canada with not a depleted squad, but Alphonso Davies didn't play. But there were some guys that did and didn't. But they were at BMO Field, a little bit of snow on the ground in Canadian fashion. The Canadian men, they wrapped her up. I think they clinched first in the CONCACAF standings. They're going to the World Cup in Qatar. Congratulations to them. I think it's fantastic the way soccer. We talked about it a month ago when other games are going on, or 2 months ago now, I guess it is. How soccer is just taking over in this country, and you see a bunch of kids playing soccer now. Today, when I was driving around town doing chores, I guess you say, doing some things, and
you were doing errands.
I was doing errands. I was running errands. I was running errands.
But carry on.
But I was running some errands, and you seen kids playing soccer. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic that soccer, the way it's taken off in this country, between the men's doing what they did yesterday and the women's team winning the gold medal. Man, I think it's fantastic that our country's I wouldn't say on top of the soccer world, but man, we're getting close.
Well, time's gonna tell. We'll see what happens when they get on stage with the big boys. But this accomplishment by the Canadian men's national team, I am so fucking proud of these guys. I really am. Taking a program that was inconsequential in everything for the last 20 years, it's and to not only qualify, to qualify at the top of the table, to be beating Mexico, to be beating USA, who aren't world powers, but they're CONCACAF powers, and those are the two teams that were there every single year. It's awesome. It's awesome to see. And Canada's going to be co-hosting this not this World Cup, the World Cup in 4 years' time. Canada and USA will be co-hosting, and so Canada gets an automatic berth. But I'm not going to say the majority. There's a huge core group that are under 25 years of age, and these young men have stepped up and performed so well and carried themselves with class and grace, and it's tough. I'm a little bit at a loss for words. It's because I'm not familiar with every single name. I do read the stories. I'm not able to watch every game, but I'm just so proud of this program. I'm so proud of John Herdman, who was the women's brought the Canadian women's national team onto the world stage and made them a power. And now he's doing the exact same thing with Canada. And you know what? If Canada's men's team win a game or two in the World Cup, he can write his fucking ticket. He can coach, manage, any team in the world, because this is absolutely amazing, the turnaround he's done with this men's national program.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but because they finished number one, the CONCACAF, when they get to the World Cup, they're obviously going to be playing some lesser countries, lesser teams, I guess, because it would be a 1 versus 4 kind of a seeding thing. I would assume. I don't know enough about it. I don't pretend to know about it, so I'm asking you. You're the soccer connoisseur of the 1420 podcast. This has to make things a little bit easier going into the World Cup, thinking, okay, we might get a couple of cupcakes in the first couple of games.
Oh, there's no such thing.
No such thing. But you might, instead of having to play Brazil in the first game, it might make things a little bit easier.
I'll tell you, like, I think the draw is
Am I wrong on that?
week. Well, Sarah, I'm gonna tell you, like, so let's say there's 6 groups and there's 36 teams, or there's usually 4 per group, so that would be 20. Let's say there's 24 teams in the World Cup. So they have the top 6 seeds go into one fishbowl, the next seed, the next seed, the next seed. And so what they do is, like, they're pulling Group A, 1 seed. And so Canada's going to
They
be.
do the Patrick Ewing with the fucking icy envelope.
Oh, yeah. And then so
Really?
like Canada's probably going to be in fishbowl 3. In fishbowl 3, because there's so many. They're ranked now. They went from, I want to say, 78, 79 to now number 33 in the world. And so now the teams are ranked, and that's how it works in fish bowls, right? And so Canada might be in the 3rd fish bowl as opposed to the 4th fish bowl. Am I making sense? Like, so Canada ain't no cupcake, but there's no game that, like, unless
no, like, it's not like,
yeah, like, unless something like, excuse me again, like, when you think about it, Italy's not going to be there. They lost to North Macedonia
they're a
the
cup.
other day. North Macedonia ain't a cupcake because they just knocked Italy out of the World Cup.
Yeah, but anybody can beat anybody on any given day. Dave, I don't know anything about it, but I'm gonna say North Macedonia is a cupcake. I don't even know where North Macedonia is.
And same with Iceland, right? Like, you find the right group of
I
talent.
would put our chances against Iceland and North Macedonia very high.
I agree.
I don't know why, but I'm just assuming.
I 100% agree. We're going to be there. Do you know who's not going to be there? The Greeks.
Well, issues, grievances, major concerns in Greece.
Sorry, producer, but not this year.
They didn't quite make her. No, we've talked about it. I think it's great. My niece, she's a huge soccer player. She loves it. The way the game's growing with Christine Sinclair on the women's side, and you got it's just the way this game has grown in our country. Something that, like, you played when you were younger, I didn't. It was something I only played with in this is back in the early 90s and late 80s. The only time you played soccer, and most people growing our vintage, Dave, only played in school when it was part of your high school curriculum or junior high curriculum. Most people.
That too. And you know what else I think it is? And we kind of touched upon it with Brad the other day. Where does the country steer their best athletes to? In the Netherlands, it's speed skating, right? You look at the Winter Olympics and you see, like, Netherlands has 28 medals in the Winter Olympics. Well, 28, let's say 15. 14 of them are in speed skating. Canada is dominant in skiing and hockey, and that's it.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I am kind of right, and those are money sports. But, like, so now the kids, the athletes, the true athletes who don't have the economic wherewithal to get to these places in hockey and in skiing are now being funneled into soccer. And Canada has, like, we have a fairly decent system set up where everybody has a chance to become somewhat middle class, I think. And I'm not trying to get political, but to take that next level in skiing, to take that
It's
next
funny
level
how
in
every
hockey.
time somebody says, I'm not trying to get political, You have to actually say that now.
Yeah, but we understand what I'm saying. But soccer is now a thing where talent can get identified, and it doesn't take a huge outlay of cash to get identified as an elite player. And I think this is what happens with a sport like soccer, and that's what makes it, in my opinion, the world sport, because every single person has a chance to get identified as an elite person, because at the end of the day, all you really need is a ball and 10 kids.
And shoes.
You don't even
Not
need
even.
shoes.
Well,
You can play
Canada,
on the beach. Well, in Canada, you need
you
shoes,
might need
right?
shoes because sometimes there's some snow on the ground. Like there was in Toronto yesterday. It was a little cold in Toronto yesterday. There was some snow on the ground. No, congratulations once again to the Canadian men's soccer team for reaching the World Cup the first time since 1986. It was a great event. It's been a fun ride so far. And once the World Cup gets going, there'll be a lot of eyes glued to soccer, or football, as some call it, that wouldn't have cared 5 months ago. Like there's people who wouldn't have cared 5 months ago. But now there will be people sitting in pubs and bars and lounges, having parties, having situations. I don't know what time the games are local time, but there will be gatherings to watch these games, and I think it's great.
Without a doubt, we talked about this before, about how this can be like one of those nation unifying events, which, quite frankly, I think we really need to get people from opposing sides of the political spectrum, of the pandemic spectrum, to get them all sitting at the same table, looking at the screen, cheering for the same team and cheering for that flag. Because that's another thing
that I am going to get political. Yesterday, when they were waving Canadian flags,
that gave me so much joy.
I knew what they were waving them for this time.
Exactly.
So I am getting political. Yesterday, when they were waving Canadian flags at BMO Field in Toronto, I knew what they were waving them for. For 3 months, the last 3 months, I didn't know why they were waving flags, and that's the truth. That's the truth. So I am going to get political, and that's my thoughts on that.
Taking my flag back to wave it for the reason that I love to look at that flag, and I love to see it being waved, and that really made my heart swell a little bit. And this is going to happen when Qatar happens. We're going to put people at the same table as Canadians, and we're going to watch this, and it's going to be a unifying event. And I think people,
I really think so.
People from different parts of the table, even, we're there to do one thing, and that's watch the Canadian men's national team compete at the World Cup. And if we have a conversation after the game, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
We gotta remember, and we gotta remember things and cherish things that unite us as opposed to divide us. And this is a uniting thing. And that's what sport does. That's what sport does, especially at a national level. And the fact that it's now soccer, which is foreign,
makes it odd. It makes it odd.
It makes it a little bit odd. But you won't talk to one person that like, even if they didn't watch, they know.
They know what's happening.
Canada is going to the World Cup, and that's a big fucking deal. And now when we have these World Cup watching parties in Lethbridge, like they always do it, like in that little town square thing, they'll show games. But now instead of all the Germans and English and Greeks getting there, it's an Italians.
Those Englands.
Those goddamn Englanders.
Those Englands. I never liked them much growing up, the Englands.
But now I know the biggest crowd is going to be when Canada is there, and that's great. And I'm not besmirching. I don't have bitter tears, or like, I don't say that with any kind of bitterness, because Canada is a nation made of immigrants, right? We're 90% of the population is only 2 generations away from having grandparents born in a different country, and that's just what is, and that's okay. And that's why I cheer for Holland, you cheer for Ukraine.
I'm really cheering for Ukraine right now.
Oh yeah, in a different, like, they're in qualifying too, but those games are postponed. but nonetheless, I do believe the biggest crowds and the most vocal crowds are gonna be for Canada, and that gives me joy. And like as opposed to, like I say, when a Denver Broncos game is on and a big, huge game and I want to watch it by myself, I wouldn't mind. I'm gonna go and watch Canada play in the World Cup, and I'm gonna go to an establishment. I'm gonna go outside. I wanna experience the patriotic
Some
cheer
camaraderie and everything
joy.
else. No, I agree. Maybe
Exactly.
we should do something. Maybe we'll set something up 14-20 style. We'll get some people together. We'll do something that we'll do a pre-gamer, everything else. I think it's something that's it's 36 years in the making. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. Go Canada, go! 14-20 Sports Podcast, 4 Beer Sports Talk, and a whole lot more. We'll be back right away with the meathead of the month. 14-20 Sports Podcast, 4 Beer Sports Talk, and a whole lot more. Dave, the other night we had Brad on the show. A lot of laughs with an old friend of ours, friend of the show. We had some good discussions. We kind of run a little bit long. We cut your segment short. New one that you and Jasper came up with. Ask kicker, ask kisser, or asshole. We all know some of those in our lives. We don't know which ones they are at times, because sometimes that same person can be all three at once, and you don't really know what's going on or on a day-to-day basis. We might have saw that last night with a certain Fresh Prince of somewhere. But anyways, Dave, you had a few more to get to with the your ask kicker, ask kisser, asshole segment. Throw a couple at me before we get to the meathead of the month.
Well,
That was a
it's
very
really
good
tough.
intro, by the way.
It was.
I didn't mind that one.
Like
Yeah,
just kind
off
of
the cuff too.
and you just flowed, and that's what we're all about, is our flow. There, it's usually a one, like it's hard to find the ones, and then trust me, since I came up with this idea, I've been trying to find one that it says a third, like it's like 40-40-20 kind of thing. I'm trying to look for those 30-30 ones, but nonetheless, Brett Hull. Is he an ass kicker, an ass kisser, or an asshole?
I think at throughout Brett Hall's career,
And now I'm talking about from when he scored 72 to yesterday.
I think throughout Brett Hall's career, he ran the gamut of all of them. I think he was a bit outspoken, a bit of a loudmouth at times, so he was a bit of an asshole at times, a bit of a lazy prick at times on the ice, and he wasn't afraid to tell people who the best player on the ice was. Scored a lot of goals. I think he had 90 one year, I believe. So that makes him an ass kicker. I think he just fell behind Gretzky one year for the scoring race, and an ass kisser with his latest rendition of himself with the St. Louis Blues winning the Stanley Cup, and he was right on stage singing Gloria. So he's been all three over the years, but I actually think that a lot of people probably consider, and I hate to say this, I think the world of Brett Hall, I really do, but I think there's a good percentage of people, and I'm just going to go with what I think, not what I know. It's just what I think. I think there's a good percentage of people that think that Brett Hall's an asshole.
I'm going to. I do see that. Like I think this is a good one that does cross all gamuts here. Like when he caught fire with the St. Louis Blues for like 4 years, he was an ass kicker.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That fucker filled the net, and then he went
with
to Dallas.
the Oats, yeah, with the
Hall and Oates.
Hall and Oates.
That's a great
I
nickname.
love Hall and Oates, by the way.
Ah, so do I.
Oh,
like
fuck.
I
One of my
pity
first
the
concerts
fool.
ever, the Private Eyes World Tour here at Lethbridge. I'm back in '83, I think it was, with my grandparents. The Hall and Oates World Tour. Private Eyes, they're watching you. Awesome.
Best-selling
Awesome.
duo of all time.
Oh,
Best-selling duo of all time. But nonetheless, and then he went to Dallas and did his thing, but then he was a bit of a hired gun. He wasn't an ass kicker with Dallas. And then he begged to get on those Detroit teams. He begged. And he won a cup there as well. And so he was an ass kisser there too. So he went from ass kicker to ass kisser. And I think he was an asshole when he was with Dallas. He turned from a kicker to an asshole
Yeah.
to a kisser to now. So if I had to call him one thing, I'd call him an asshole as well.
Yeah,
'Cause his,
I get that feeling he was a bit of a like a look at me attitude. I'm really good. I'll tell you how good I am. I've never talked to the guy. I don't know him. I've never heard anything different. I get that feeling. The videos of him when St. Louis won the cup singing Gloria are second to none. That Stanley Cup run that the Blues had when Gloria by Sheena Easton was on, I think it's fantastic. I don't the story behind how
I think it's Laura Branigan. Tell you the
Laura
truth.
Branigan, sorry, not Sheena Easton,
Right.
but the story behind how they came up with Gloria as their victory song is fantastic. The St. Louis Blues, it was a great run. Gloria is a good song back from my childhood, but yeah, I think that he's an asshole.
I think he's an asshole as well. And he did have good stretches of his career where he was one of three. In fact, I
Yeah,
think he was the you know what, and that's all it takes, right? It takes 6 years of being an ass kicker. I think you can do whatever you want.
whatever you want, man.
Because then he turned into an asshole, then he turned into a kisser, right?
See, I think okay, here's how I'm going to. This is going to sound ridiculous, but I'm going to say it anyways. If we went to a bar back when Hall was relevant, he's still relevant, obviously. But if we went to a bar
When
and
he was an active player.
active player, friends or friend, if they knew Brett Hall, I think he's the kind of guy who'd have been like, "Who the fuck are these guys? Like, why is this guy? Why are these two yappy fucks sitting next to me?" That's how.
I'm not gonna project.
That's how I see how Brett Hall would have been.
And that's possible, but I don't know. I'm not gonna project.
Or maybe he would have loved us. Dave, everyone loves us.
It just depends on the mood, right? It just depends on the mood.
Delivery and context, everything.
Delivery and context and setting.
Right.
It matters a lot. Like, if it's a wedding, that's one thing, but if it's a
if you're
funeral,
just
it's a
flapping your
different
lips like we usually do, then when they are.
thing. Well, if we find each other together, we're gonna fucking talk a little bit. That's just what happens.
Yeah, who's your next one?
Well, there's a teammate of his. Well, I don't even know if they were teammates. But this guy now is a father of two NHL players. Keith Tkachuk.
They were teammates. They were teammates in St. Louis.
Who showed up after the strike, 70 pounds overweight.
Oh, he's well over 70 pounds over his playing weight right now. The years have been good to Keith Tkachuk. I don't think he dislikes whatever he eats, because boy, oh boy, that man put on the pounds. Hell of a hockey player, good time. But once again, I think he.
So on this note, though, too, we can't. We have to take kisser. He's not an ass kicker. He hasn't kissed an ass in his life, I don't think. So he's either an ass kicker or he's an asshole.
Fuck, he was a good player. Okay, here it is. And for our American listeners, I love the States. I spend time down there. I love it. Here it is, Dave. That 1996 World Cup team, the American team that Mike Richter single-handedly took them to win that World Cup, which was the reincarnation of the Canada Cup, was one of the greatest hockey tournaments and greatest Canadian teams ever assembled that didn't win. I actually have a bit of hostility towards every U.S. player that was on that team, and so maybe because that tournament was so good, and Canada was supposed to win that tournament. The cast of characters
Mike
Canada
Richter was the single best 2-game goalie performance I've ever seen
of all time. I think of all time. Like,
and that what was that, like 92, 93?
96.
Okay, whatever.
It was 96.
It was ridiculous.
So I'm also going to put Keith Tkachuk because he was on that American team. I think that every player that was on that American team, this is awful to say because they're probably really good guys. We probably hoist a beer and have them with them. But every player that was American or on that American team, I consider them an asshole. Every single one of them, because they had a swagger and a step to them, and they really didn't have any business being in a couple in those two games. And the way they carried themselves when they were just riding on Richter's coattails, that 3-game series, every player that you name on that American team, to me, is an asshole.
Darian Hatcher,
Asshole.
Chris Chelios,
Asshole.
Brett Hall, Keith Kachuk,
Asshole.
Brian Leach.
Asshole.
Who else? Like,
No, I don't mind Leach. Leach seems like a pretty mild-mannered, nice guy.
He was on that team.
He's on that team's an asshole. They're all assholes.
Okay. Okay. I agree.
Then,
I think
let's just blanket that one. That 96 World Cup team, bunch of assholes.
yeah, you have a lot to like.
I
yeah,
love
and-
America. Don't our American listeners, I love your country. I have a great time down there. But that team, they're assholes.
They were so, that was an asshole heavy team, except for
Yeah.
Mike Leach and Richter. I'm not gonna call him an asshole.
Yeah.
He was just doing his job, but no one's done that job better. Like that was Hasek before Hasek was a thing.
Yeah.
I got one more for you, and I'm gonna switch sports. Last pick in the Major League Baseball draft in his draft year, and someone did it as a favor. Mike Piazza.
Yeah, he Mike Piazza, Dodger
is
great,
ass
Mets great,
kicker?
Hall of Famer. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
As kicker, as kisser, or an asshole?
He's another guy who liked himself a lot. Didn't
Oh, he
deserve to get.
loved himself.
Didn't deserve. Well, I shouldn't say didn't deserve. Got drafted as a favorite of Tommy Lasorda by the Dodgers. Lasorda, obviously, longtime Dodger manager. Dodger great, passed away last year. Jesus Christ.
Hall of Famer, no.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Played in one World Series.
In 2000, the Mets versus the Yankees. Subway Series. I'm gonna say he's an ass kicker because he came from nothing, but he was given a bit of a light chance to make her, and he made the most of an opportunity that most of us would never get. He got that working man's hero chance, and he made the most of it to a Hall of Fame multi-million-dollar career. I'm going to say that Mike Piazza is definitely an ass kicker.
See, and I don't think he's an asshole. I really don't. But like the fact that he got drafted as a favor, but you're right. Like he worked his way up. He clearly worked on his game, and he was a good catcher. He wasn't a great catcher, but he hit for power.
Good hit.
And that's and like, you know, that leads into what we were talking about a little bit earlier on in this pod. Excuse me. But the fact that he really loved what he saw in the mirror kind of bothers me a little bit. And I think he is a bit of an ass kisser, a la Gary Carter. He was a little bit more worried about endorsements and how he looked. And the way Roger Clemens embarrassed him in the World Series.
What was up with that one?
bothered me.
Clemens hit him in the dome in 2000 with the Subway Series in July, July 4th, whatever game it was. And then when he threw his bat, like he broke his bat, and then Clemens threw it at him.
Yeah,
that was odd on Clemens' behalf. That was really weird.
That was Roger.
And then Clemens was saying some weird shit like, "Oh, I was just reacting." What to what?
Yeah, like that. Like
that was one of the top 20 strange moments in sports history.
Yeah, and like he just like, get your fucking shit out of here, Clemens.
It's not like fucking Piazza planned to break his bat and have it go right towards Clemens. It was odd.
No, I get it, but like, you know, I do kind of respect Clemens for just being the big dog and just get your fucking shit out of here.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
And, you know, and that was adrenaline. It's like, yeah, fucking
well, adrenaline or, you know, HGH.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Like he might have been raging, but you know, in the heat of the moment, I did respect Clemens for just owning Mike Piazza. And then so I can't, because Piazza got owned on the biggest stage. I can't call him an ass kicker, but I do respect his career. I do think he was a little too media savvy for my particular inklings. So I'm gonna put Mike Piazza as an ass kisser.
Well, there you go. That's a good thing. We should find some more of those guys. We always go back to guys that in our events. We should try to find out more dirt. And that's the thing. These kids are so knowledgeable to social media now, and they have publicists. Like, I mean, they did back then too. But these kids now, they don't get in trouble. They don't go out. You don't hear much about their personalities. And I think that's sad that it's been taken away from the sports world. That these kids are just. It's not as fun for sports fans. And I don't think being a pro, like, yes, they make way more money, but I don't think it's as fun to be a pro athlete as it was 20 years ago.
When we would go up to the odd game in Edmonton and go out to bars,
You'd see those guys.
We would see those guys. Does that happen anymore?
You don't see pictures of these guys on social media.
Well,
especially,
so here I'm gonna say this. What about when like a Canadian team goes down to Arizona or goes to Dallas? Do they go out?
Apparently no.
Like
Apparently
I don't know that answer.
Like they might play golf in the afternoon but they don't go out.
There's no nightlife anymore.
No, from what I've read, what I've been told, they don't go out. I could be wrong, but from what I've been told and what I've read and what I've heard on other podcasts and sports radio, they don't go out because the risk is too high. There's so much money involved, Dave. They can't chance it. They can't.
And that's because of the risk to the brand, their personal brand, or the risk to the fight, like
all the above.
Yeah. And which I understand. And like, it's a bit of a shame because it just builds up a wall.
Because man, I mean, it's a different level, but when you're a big fish in a small pond, man, that's gotta be fun, right?
But we hear about NBA and any NFL players going out all the time. Why not NHL?
Well, and look how it turns out for them.
I'm just saying you probably have a way better chance to go out invisible as a Calgary Flame in Phoenix, Arizona than
they probably do. I mean, it's just different. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know either. I don't know. Like, we're just like, get back to us. Like any NBA player that listens to 1420 podcast, reach out.
Any NFL players listen to the show, any NBA players, any NHL players, or Major League Baseball players listen to the show. Let us know what your goings out are around, because I'm curious. I'm curious if you guys go out.
Like, do you guys party anymore? Do you guys have a good time, or you gotta fucking?
Do you get into her? And Dave,
sometimes
we'd be remiss to not talk about the goings on last night at the fucking Oscars. Will Smith and Chris Rock and the slap heard around the world. Dave, that thing, we were watching the Laker thing last night, and then Deanne went for a bite. She went for a dart, and then she was looking on the Twitter machine about what went on, and there was like I said, the smack heard around the world. And then I saw it this morning. I didn't care last night. I watched this morning. I listened to a lot of podcasts today and sports radio throughout the day. And when I watched it, the first thing I thought was the Jerry Lawler, Andy Kaufman thing from 35, 40 years ago now. And that actually crossed on Letterman. And that actually crossed my mind. Like, are they promoting something? Because I'm a wrestling guy. I know all that stuff, and I'm like, the stuff from the 80s. I watched it. I listened to it. I follow it still to this day. The old stuff, not the new stuff. And that's one of the first things I thought, and it got brought up. I kind of think the whole thing was a work. Because the way Chris Rock reacted, didn't say he got hit hard, and he stood there and waited for it. I just think that the whole thing was kind of hokey to me. What's your thoughts? I don't know.
I found out about it the same way. Like I found out about it on the Twitter machine. I didn't watch 1 second of it on my TV, and then it was actually like 13 minutes after it happened. I watched it. I go, "Well, what the fuck happened here?" And there was like a big moment of silence. And then 5 minutes later, I started getting the Australian feed and the
Yeah.
Japanese feed, so I can hear it all. And these are the things that make me scratch my head. Will Smith laughed his ass off at the joke.
Until his wife looked at him.
Yes. And then he came up, and then Chris Rock had his hands behind his back. And Will Smith, it was an exaggerated slap. It was clearly an actor slap. Like he wound up. He
And
came
this
through
guy
and he
just
followed
won an
through.
Oscar for the best actor.
No, he didn't.
Oh no, I know he went after for it.
He went after. Yes.
Okay, so he's an actor, which
Yeah.
which that's what wrestlers are. Wrestlers are athlete actors.
Right. And
Go
you know
ahead.
what? And if I get slapped, if I hit my head, you know what? The first thing I do, I rub
Grab
it.
it. I
Chris
said the
Rock
exact
never,
same thing. Never touched his face, nothing.
never touched his face. He goes, I just got smacked down by Will Smith, or I just
Didn't
got
touch his face once.
I got bitch slapped or something. He said something to that
Yeah.
thing. And then that keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. That looked like acting to me. And I don't know. And then this, oh fuck. It just doesn't sit right.
I
Period.
think it's a work. I think it's Kaufman Lawler from 1982 or whatever year it was. I think it's a complete work. Because Deanne we were talking about, she was here doing some work earlier on today, and I walked up to her and I did the old Bret Hart where I stomped my foot and hit her across the head and didn't touch her. And that's what it seemed to me. It seemed to be odd. And I'm glad you brought that up, that Chris Rock never once touched his face. Like if I
get hit,
slightly bump my head or slightly touch or stub my toe, the first thing I do is touch my fucking toe or touch my face.
Yeah.
Like every single time.
I'm not saying Chris Rock. I'm not saying Chris Rock ain't tough, but
you just do it by just reaction.
His hands are behind his back the entire time.
Leaned in, got the Stone Cold. He got the Ric Flair smack across the face. I don't know. I think it was a work. You know what? It wouldn't surprise me if a month from now it's on TV that they got a fucking special coming up together, and it was something. I find it ridiculous. And for nothing to happen, how nobody stepped in to break something up. Like any other setting in that situation, when you got celebrities, because these guys have bodyguards no matter what. There are people around, you got security no matter what. For no one to jump in at all.
And
nobody.
Like this, and he walked by, and then they let him present the award. Like they didn't like pause to music and shit like that.
I think it was the phoniest thing that put on fucking Mankind in a long time.
The fact that there was no break, the fact that technical difficulties, will be right back, and what the fuck just happened here and all that stuff. Like it just doesn't ring true.
Like why? I have no idea, but I just think it was a put on. That's my opinion.
Yeah, the magnitude of this event, and you didn't break when for the first time in Oscar history, someone came out of the crowd and struck another person. Yeah. Like what if that? Well, what's her name? Amy Schumer was hosting the Oscars. What if Jada would have came out and struck her? It just doesn't ring true. This just doesn't make fucking sense in a real world to me. But you know what? In the last 2 years, like last 6 years, there's a lot of shit that hasn't just rang true to me. A lot of shit.
But most conspiracy theories have but what does this help either their careers?
The Oscar ratings have been dwindling like crazy forever, right?
Yeah.
And I also read an article about if you gave me a list of 30 movies and asked me to pick out the 5 that are nominated for the Oscars, I don't know. I don't think I could. All I know is Coda won the award.
I wouldn't know what Coda was about.
it's something about hearing impaired.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That's it.
I've
That's
never
all
been
I
a
know.
movie guy though, like Goonies, I fucking whatever. But yeah, the whole thing smells a little fishy to me, and I don't know, it's just odd the way it came across last night. And it was funny because mom was over last night for dinner, and she goes, "Yeah, I used to like watching the Oscars." She said, and I'm gonna watch it again tonight. But I used to like because the glamour of Hollywood, because it being from Fort McLeod. You don't have the glamour of Hollywood in Fort McLeod, obviously. And she goes, it would be nice to watch it, and the mystique that Hollywood had. And then now it's just Jesus.
Well,
It
I think.
the whole thing is pretty smelly to me.
Well, yeah, and like as far as the Oscars go, too, like back in the day when the Oscars was a huge event, what maybe 50 movies got released every year.
Yeah,
50 movies get
a
released every
day.
month now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like with all what Netflix
because
is
I think
doing and
Apple actually
independence.
I think Apple actually won a best something award last night. So like it's a new thing that something didn't exist 20 years ago, right?
Yeah,
So
it's just like the awards are so finite for what the competition has become. Excuse me. Like it's like a whole sport, right? Like the actual competition has surpassed any kind of expectation when the event was first conceived of and when we did this.
yeah.
Like I think it actually is solid because now it's just the opinion of so little over such a vast product. Instead of voting for 10 movies now, you're literally voting on 100 movies.
No, the whole thing stunk a little bit last night. And there was when there's wrestlers' job was to dupe us 100 years ago, and when they were chiming in last night, they had seen something seems kind of fishy. If it looks like a fish, it smells like a fish, it's probably a fucking fish. And
Yeah.
when wrestlers call it hokey, it's probably fucking hokey. Anyways, Dave, fun show tonight. I want to give a shout out to a couple podcasts listening to this week. The Fan the Van podcast, man. This guy, he listens to every one of our show. He's out in he's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. He's confused with the quarterback situation out there. Got love his show, and the Jim, Joe, and Steve show. Have these Dave give these guys a listen. They remind me a lot of us growing up. They tell stories about the shenanigans they get up to. Just a few guys having some beers around. The Jim, Joe, and Steve show. The Fan the Van podcast. Thank you very much for following us and listening to all of our shows. And we'd be remiss to not talk about Jim Schwarn, our sound guy. His song's still out there on Spotify. Over with. Give him a listen to for sure. We appreciate all the work you do for us, Jim. It's you make us sound better than we really are.
I agree with everything you just said. I have started listening to the Fan of the Band. The other one I have not. Fuck. I only got so much time in my day. And then and I'm gonna say that, and I do appreciate all the support, especially from the podcast network that we've kind of become a part of. I really appreciate us supporting each other. But you know what? At the end of the day, I gotta listen to my Mark Maron and I gotta listen to my Sklar brothers. So I'm
There
sorry.
you go. No, it's a thing. Like I have a little bit at night. I have a little bit of extra time in my hand compared to but things are changing with baseball and everything else. But still get a chance to listen to the shows, and they listen to us. It branches out and it goes on and on and on. So thank you very much. SeatGeek.com or the SeatGeek app. $20. Save yourself 1420 pod and everything else. Dave, fun show tonight. Take care. To more important, take care of yourself. We need you around. Keep your stick on the ice, and what else?
Don't swing at high pitches, Jimmy Valentine.
There we go. Have a good night, folks. We'll talk to you on Thursday.
See you guys.